Hello and welcome. As promised, I am back on time from my summer/moving break. Today, I'm going to present you some of my favorite art supplies. I am going to use those to create a little bookmark for my calendar. That brings me to my very first favorite art supply. It is the paint on paper from Clairefontaine. It has 250 grams per square meter and it comes in lots of different variations. There is a fine grain as well as a grained paper. It comes in black craft paper. There is a new special version for hand lettering, and I have a tainted one that is tainted in denim and one is tainted in a green olive shade. It is beautiful. And you can paint on this one with almost everything you want to. I paint on it with my watercolors as well as gouache, acrylics, and my watercolor pencils. And I am already using the second item on my favorite art supply list. It is the UniPin Fineliner. I have it in a 0.5 as well as a brush size. They are quite different from normal fine liners I used to work with. They flow so much easier. I feel like it is a very smooth ink in there. It's fun to paint with them. They never give out. They never stop with the ink flow. I had that problem with Faber-Castell Eco Pigment fine liners, but not with those. Highly recommend them. Now that I finished this little sea monster guy, I'm getting out my Schmincke Watercolors. If you saw my art desk tour, you know that it all started with this watercolor set that my mom gave to me some time ago. I fell in love with art and grew my collection a lot. Of course, they deserve a space in my favorite art supply list. What you need to paint with watercolors is a brush. I have 3 different sizes of the DaVinci Casaneo brush. It is a synthetic brush, but it is one of the best watercolor brushes I worked with so far. Can highly recommend those, and 3 sizes for me are perfect. I only have one other very tiny detail brush that I sometimes use. One of the most important tools I use is this heat gun. Not only do I emboss different things with it, it comes so handy for impatient people like me. I hate waiting for paint to dry, especially with watercolors, so I just take out my heat gun and dry whatever I'm painting. Next up, we have the Finetec Palette. Those are some seriously shimmery, glimmering paints. They are from a German brand and I love painting with them. You have to put some water droplets in there before you can start. Within 30 seconds, it is ready to go. I am adding some details. I used it with the holy owl I created as well as the Little Prince books, and it can easily give your paintings a mystical touch. Highly recommend those. They have an enormous color palette to choose from, and you can even assort your own color palette on their website, which is what I did. Now that the little guy is finished, I want to cut him out. For that, I have some very handy tools that I use quite a lot, and therefore they are in my favorite art supply list. The first one is this little handheld scalpel. You have great control over whatever you are doing with this one. There are some interchangeable blades, one especially for curves, and you can also place a graphite mine in there and paint with it. Whenever you want a straight line, be it with drawing or cutting, you usually want to use a ruler. When you cut a line and cut into a plastic ruler, you will ruin its edge and therefore ruin the ruler. It won't be straight anymore. Therefore, I have this metal ruler. It is made from stainless steel and comes in very handy when I want to cut longer lines. If you don't want to use the handheld scalpel and are more the type to use scissors, you will be very happy with a pair of silhouette scissors. It is what I am using here. You also have great control. You only have to be careful with the surface because sometimes you can scratch it with the scissors, and that won't happen with the scalpel. But it definitely is up there in my list of favorite art supplies. This bookmark should have a second layer so that it is more stable and won't bend and break easily. I want the back of the bookmark to be a unicolor. I am lazy. Of course, you can create a very nice backing, but I chose to use my gouache for this layer of color. Whenever I need a large layer of paint, mostly in a unicolor, I am going for my gouache. I did a special segment on gouache if you are interested about that medium. I could have used toned paper, but I chose to use the gouache because maybe I will paint on there afterwards. Another staple in my art supply collection is my Maxi power tape by Tombow. There are two versions of this one out there. I have the refillable one. You can open it up and simply place your new tape in there. Even if I use other glue as well, I like to use this because I can be sure it won't flap open again. It will help the other glue I use to stick, and it is a very reliable tape. If you are careful, you can even peel the paper off again and then reapply it wherever you need it. For small details, you might already have seen this. I use it quite a lot. I have the Quickie Glue pen from Sakura. It is so handy for embossing usually, and I also like to use it for gluing together detailed pieces. I'm simply cleaning up the edges with some watercolor, and then we are done with our list as well as the bookmark. One final item on my favorite art supply list is the pen I use for my calendar and for sketching. It is the Pilot V5 high-tech point. It has 0.5 in size and it has a cartridge system. You can also have the non-refillable version, but I have the refillable one. I can replace the cartridges and I love this pen. Also, if you only use one pen for your notebooks, it will give it such a cohesive look and make it look way prettier. You can also do ink sketchings with the pen. If I had to choose one pen and use it forever, it would definitely be this one. Highly recommended, especially because of the refillable fountain pen-like cartridge system. That is it. That is my bookmark as well as my list of favorite art supplies. Did you have a chance to try one of those art supplies? And do you think there is an art supply that should definitely be in the top 10 list? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And also I want to welcome the new subscribers. Today I came back from my summer break and I have 82 subscribers. I want to thank each and every one of you, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye.